Hello, everybody. Welcome to my mini astrological coffee talk with Eric. And so happy to see you guys tonight. We're going to be doing the legendary martial artist and actor, Bruce Lee. Gone way too soon, died at age 32 in Hong Kong, born in LA, 1940. He was just, I guess, 1 year ahead of my mom. But, there is so much sadness and controversy. The daughter, Shannon Lee, and the mother are still alive. I think they're 80 and 56. But I couldn't imagine, right, the way that Bruce and then losing Brandon Lee on the film set as well. It's so tragic. But Bruce Lee, I don't know, how much you guys know about him, but was truly a trailblazer and so ahead of his time. And what people don't know, he was opening up so many different karate, but really kung fu schools, but he had his own style, and he had them in Oakland, San Fran, LA, and he was, trying to expand them. And I don't know how far he got with it, but I know he had big plans. And I remember seeing an interview with the wife years ago talking about he was gonna, try to take them, I think nationwide or maybe worldwide. I just can't remember. I don't know. And believe, please, if some of you guys are Bruce Lee experts, you can definitely chime in because I am a little foggy. But I did get some great information and research for the actual chart. So let's bring up the chart and we shall see.
I think he was the first Asian to want to share the culture, like with people outside of.
In terms of like the kung fu and the karate and stuff.
That's how he got in trouble with his people.
There was a lot of controversy.
That
A lot of controversy about certain things with that. You're right about that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was about to say what fascinated me about him that I learned later on in life that he was actually mixed race. Right, his mother was white and his father was Asian. Because looking at him, you couldn't tell, and so I think that's why he was able to have a broader appeal than the average Asian kung fu star. Right, I think that's what gave him his edge because he was able to see both sides of the coin.
Well, I wondered about that.
I didn't know that.
I thought he was full, but I know he was born in LA. So
no, his mother's white. He's interracial. Right, looking at him, you can't tell, but yeah,
and I guess it was you could see it with the kids a little bit more, but let's so as I start off with all you guys and my clients, Bruce Lee meet Bruce Lee, but we're not Bruce Lee, but we're meeting Bruce Lee. So, born in Los Angeles, 1940. And what's fascinating, he's the Sag Sun and Rising and the Scorpio Moon in the 12th house. But I want to start off with some key dates, right? And the first one is he died at age 32. So the annual perfection year for 32 is the 9th house. And what happened? He died in a foreign land. Look at that. Right off the bat, right? So 50 miles or further away from your birthplace, you'll see in the 9th house. Now, you may not know, there's rumors that the woman that he died at Betty's house, died in a hospital, but she called the ambulance. She gave him an aspirin that had some other stuff in it because he was dealing with painkillers. I think Enter the Dragon was released in America, but I think he was doing promotions or something with dubbing in Hong Kong, and had an incident on, I think, May 10th, Taurus season, but then was complaining about the headaches, but then July 20th is when he died. The film came out in America January 1st in 73, but he died July 20th, 1973. But that's before his 30, because, he's born in, obviously in late November or December. So he wasn't 33 yet, okay? So, and that's really sad, you know what I mean? And so at 32 years old, the 9th house perfection gets activated, and that's Leo. And what is Leo connected to? Entertainment. There you go, bing bong. right? So this is why annual perfections and the whole sign system will always be my favorite. And there's no shade on Vedic, sidereal or Placidus, but just when you, through annual perfection, could see so many things, even for you guys, if you do this at home, a chart you can track maybe when you got married or had kids or different life events, major life events that are clearly easy to see, you'll see certain things, okay? And then what's so funny about this, the ruler of the ninth house is on the ascendant, right? And Sagittarius is like foreign lands too, right? Foreign cultures. So, he grew up with both parents. He's one of five. I could not figure out what number he was in the kids, but he had two brothers and two sisters. And his brother has done some like detective work and found out the stuff about Betty and Raymond because Betty called Raymond, the film producer, to say, and Betty was supposedly the mistress. Not good, not nice, right? That, Bruce Lee wasn't breathing and wouldn't wake up or whatever. Then he comes, he's checking him, then he calls his doctor. And then when his doctor comes, then they call what we would call 911. They call it 999 in Hong Kong and China. I thought that was cool. They call 999 and then rush him to the hospital at 11 and died at 11:30 p.m. Very sad. Now, he did at least 19 films. I feel like there was a 20th, but that's all you can find on the internet is 19. And he did some work on TV shows and stuff like that. But what's fascinating, the first film, because he did movies as a young kid, it was called The Kid, and he was 10 years old. So 10 years, annual perfection is the 11th house, okay? And here's the North Node, okay? And so I think that's interesting too, as a Sag rising, the Libra, right? And he's connecting with others, doing, something that's part of his hopes, dreams, and wishes, becoming a film star. He wanted his kung fu, his message, his martial arts style, because he had a different technique than most people, to be kind of going on big stages, big arenas. What's the 11th house, right? The big arena, right? So I thought that was kind of powerful. His firstborn, Brandon, Aquarius, and the daughter, Shannon, Aries, firstborn was at 24 years old, first house annual perfection. And that's when he got married to Linda, his wife, okay? So at 24 years old, right, he's, you could say the vitality of the sun, right? Nothing more vital for a man, I guess, than having a baby. Obviously, the woman is the one that does all the work, right? We contribute and then we dip out, right? But you guys hold it down. So, but I thought that was fascinating because that also speaks to kind of like the confidence, the purpose, and the ego. And then at 28, right before his 29th birthday, he had Shannon. And she's actually in Aries. So fifth house being Aries, I thought that was fascinating. Another thing, okay. Enter the Dragon and Game of Death. So he died here at 32, okay? Now, Enter the Dragon came out, but then there was another movie that came out in 73, which would be here, the 10th house, okay? Now, what's really fascinating, and then we'll kind of like go through and just chop up the personal placements. I just want to get this out to you guys because I remember these dates for the annual perfection. And then 78, right, that would have been 38 years old when the Game of Death came out. So we're going to 36, 37, 38. So third house, annual perfection. Game of Death, I believe that's the one with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Does anybody remember? I think that's the one with Kareem.
Yes, sir.
In the theater in 78. I don't know if any of you guys saw that one.
I was born in 78.
Okay. That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, go back and watch that one, man. That one, I believe, is with Kareem, and it is intense.
I've seen all of them.
Oh, you've seen all of them. So, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I want to go back and show it to my boys now because I'm like, yo, Bruce was the man, okay? So let's start off, though, with Being the Sagittarius and the Sun, we do want to locate what? The chart ruler, which is Jupiter, and that's over here in the sixth house. And so what's fascinating when you think about the sixth house and having the Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, this is what's interesting because Jupiter, a benefic, the benefics, Jupiter and Venus don't do so well in a malefic house. The sixth house, the planetary joy, is Mars. It's a challenging house. Just so you know, remember houses 3, 6, 10, and 11, they get better over time. But the sixth house of our work, daily routine, health, hygiene, things like that, right? He's, dealing with here, the Jupiter, which it expand his work life, right? But then the Saturn, you're feeling like there's something either chronic that was going on, or this can speak to usually, and this is what will throw you off sometimes, right? Because you have to always look at the aspects and the conjunctions and different things. But usually, you guys, when you've got Saturn in the sixth house, that's a marker to extend the life. You may have chronic pain, but a lot of people have Saturn in the sixth house or Saturn, Sun, first house or eighth house. It tends to extend the life. But this Uranus was like what? The sudden sickness, sudden illness, sudden death. So what they were able to see that there was something in that aspirin that affected him, and it was just a rare thing. I feel like there was some other poison or something that's not been detected in the autopsies because there's something fishy about it. They said that Betty ran with the darker side of people in Hong Kong, and Raymond was kind of like very power hungry as a producer. I don't know the benefit, right, of, ending his life financially for them. I didn't get that in depth, and I don't even know if his brother did because that wasn't, in the biography that I saw, it didn't come up. But Uranus is unexpected, right? So unexpected health issues. So that's kind of, fascinating. And then Taurus, right? That's your throat. He took something in his mouth, swallowed the pill that killed him. So that actually made me really sad. I was like, oh my God, and look what's here, our friend. And that's what makes me think with the Lilith, right? So your work, your daily routine, and potentially the affair while he's working in Hong Kong, he's having an affair. That's the Lilith, right? So that's Miss Betty, the home wrecker.
Wow.
Right? And let's be honest, the fellas know, that can be a man's greatest downfall, right?
Sure
When
enough.
you are kind of like of course, when I told my wife this, she goes, well, that's what's wrong with you, man. You shouldn't be cheating on your wives. I'm like, oh God. So, but that's, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But just starting back here, because that is the reason why I show you that the chart ruler is major themes will play out in your life. The sixth house, his work and his health, because he was in exceptional health, but then he suddenly wasn't. Right. But the Lilith makes me think that some sort of poison. And remember, the sixth is squaring the ninth house, right? So in terms of the time when he died, and I don't know if it's this Vesta, and maybe it's actually the Pluto. Yeah. That's what I think it is. Pluto, sextile. Square, yeah. The Pluto squaring the Lilith a little bit. That's kind of like what's happening there. Because remember, the squares can be very challenging. Is that 9? What is this Pluto degree? 4. Yeah, so they're in the square within 5 degrees. So Pluto square Lilith. There
I
you
think
go.
people wanted him dead.
People wanted him dead?
His people, because he was spreading, their culture, and they didn't want him to do it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, there's all kinds of theories.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about that. No, you're right. there were some gatekeepers who didn't want the kung fu and the culture out like that. And I remember seeing that in a documentary years ago. Um, but there were some people there who appreciated and loved him too. So you may be right because you don't know with this producer and Betty, did somebody say, we want you to take him out. We don't want this guy doing this no more.
People were always also trying to challenge him physically.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're right about that. He was tested and he was no joke. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
Bruce was he wasn't the guy to mess with. And that's the Sagittarius, right? You see the Archer, God of War, right? I mean, the God of War is associated with Mars, but Sagittarius, the Archer, is about, right? Shooting your arrow. Sagittarius is like a very strong, passionate sign, the last fire sign. When you have the sun in the ascendant, you can follow in the father's footsteps. I couldn't find out what his dad did, but the sun in the first house is very powerful. It's remember, don't get caught up with the first house is Aries, but the sun in terms of directional strength does well on the ascendant, just like it would do well in the 10th house. So he was extremely athletic. Sagittarius rules the hips and thighs, right? His kicks were like famous, right? His style, his energy. But one thing that's so deep about him, and we see it here with the Scorpio Moon, Bruce Lee loved to research and investigate. And when you have this Scorpio Moon in the 12th house, not only is he the empath, but he's tapped in, right, to his Chinese culture, even though he's born in Los Angeles, foreign lands, right? So
Yeah.
this is another thing here too, right? Because when we're talking about the health, right, this moon opposing Uranus too, in a way, not exactly, well, by degree, kind of 16.
When
Go
when you
ahead.
talk about the research, I definitely believe he was heavy in research due to his form that he formed a style depicting from other styles.
Yeah,
He said like the traditional was like very rigid and classic.
yeah,
Basically, he wanted to expand. He wanted to expand, and he found bits and pieces like Muhammad Ali's boxing style,
yeah.
the jumping back and forth, the jab, the hook. He took elements of different styles, the kicks. Supposedly he learned on the state side. I mean, like to kick a little bit higher and his flexibility as far as that goes, because his main style was Wing Chun,
Mm-hmm.
what he originated with, which is more trapping hands and um, wrist, forearms, kind of like blocking and motion and trapping,
And,
basically
and
the basic Chinese stuff you see on most of these films.
I
But
love
yeah, he
that.
definitely
And you see that right here is, look, Israel, look, the Mercury Scorpio.
right. Oh yeah, I was going to touch on that. Yeah, that Mercury
So
in
his
Scorpio, like
hands, right, in the spiritual realm, and guess what? The 12th house is associated what? With your feet. So the way, if you guys remember, like, and you would see it even in the films, the moon is your body, health, and intuition. It's in its
Mhm.
fallen Scorpio, right? But you would see like his intense emotions, his passion for his art. He was really intuitive and like psychic and spiritual. He wasn't like anybody else. And you're right, he took all these different things, but he was so well read and studied, and he even knew. And I remember he would talk to his wife about it, the Linda, like, I want to be accepted. I want to be worldwide and bring kung fu to the world and my style and my schools, right? And so, because
and
wasn't he kind of big for a second, like I think in the hood in Oakland, California, right? If I
I know he
have
had a
that
school out
correct.
there.
Huh?
I know he had a school out there or two,
Yeah,
maybe. Definitely
yeah.
had a school out there.
Yeah, I think he did. I remember seeing that in the thing. So look at this. He's got Venus, Mars, Mercury, and the Moon in the
Cool.
12th house. And what? The part of fortune. So remember, the his films, they were successful in America and in Hong Kong. And so I think in Hong Kong and China, you had some people being extremely jealous of him too. Not just, I mean, you're right, Evelyn. It's not, they didn't want him to share certain things in the culture, but there was a bit of jealousy, right? And
Yeah.
I think that comes into who was it that said that him about being him biracial? Who said that? Do you remember?
Oh, that
It's a
was
Yeah.
me.
female.
No, but you know what? I looked it up. His mother is part German and part Chinese.
Okay,
She
that's okay. That's
Okay.
what I thought because her name,
looks
I thought
Chinese.
she was mixed. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she is mixed.
Okay.
So,
That's
Thank you.
fascinating. I know that.
That is fascinating. Yeah.
Chinese always come out. They got strong genes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No. 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 Definitely. You'll always.
Eric,
Yes.
I just looked up what his dad was, and his dad was a performer as well, but he was an opera singer.
Ah.
Yeah, he was a performer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
So look at that, right? The ruler of the sun in Leo, the ninth house, and the Sag on the ascendant. So yeah, so he wanted to follow. That's very indicative of the sun in the first house. That you would want to follow in your father's footsteps.
Hmm.
Okay, and I assume that his father. That's probably why he came to America. Okay, because he was the performer and doing the entertaining opera. Wow, that's powerful. Okay. So, but this is fascinating because when you have Venus and Mars in the 12th house, it's speaking, right? Mars and Scorpio, it is kung fu. It is like, karate.
Art,
Like
art
I
and
want you
action.
to visualize, right? The Mars and the Mercury in Scorpio. So not only could he be that spiritual forensic detective or love the occult knowledge, his kung fu, it was spiritual in itself. That's what made
Definitely.
it so powerful. And then look at this right here. This is beautiful. Neptune in conjunct midheaven. Film. He was destined to have a film career, right? So you're seeing this, right? In Virgo, that was sort of his calling in service to humanity, to teach Kung Fu through the film and television. He was doing the damn thing, right?
Sure.
He was really doing it. And Enter the Dragon, I can't remember which was the most
It's
financial success, but
into the dragon, I must say.
I would say it would be, and that's what came out here, and that's what
Yeah.
10th house, Neptune midheaven, okay? Because that was huge. I mean,
That's the one that put him on the map.
yeah, it was like crazy. Now, Fist of Fury and was it Big Boss and something else? Those, Fist of
Chinese
Fury,
connection.
yeah.
Chinese connection.
Oh yeah, Chinese Connection. Oh my God, I forgot about that one.
I
But
think that's
Fist,
the one. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
but Fist of Fury was no joke. Okay.
Yes. They
But
were all good.
see, look at this. That is the film career. Service to humanity, but also Neptune, the compassion and empathy. Neptune Virgo people, this was a magical generation. So this is like going to I think it was maybe 30 to 44, somewhere in there. Um, the Neptune Virgo generation. They were very it's different from Neptune. Years ago I did this, and I don't think any of you guys were around, probably Evelyn, Marilyn Monroe, right? Neptune, Leo rising. So Neptune and Leo, right? A lot of film stars, the early film stars, Neptune, Leo. Neptune, Virgo, it was about their compassion and service to the people, to the collective, right? Virgo, the Virgin, the weed and medicine. But so him doing the film, it was part of his career and his workplace, work environment, but it was also to teach, right? And so that's what was so powerful for Bruce. Linda, I forgot her birthday. I thought I just had
Yeah, I
it.
was going to ask ask
No,
you, was
she
she a
was
Virgo?
Was she a Capricorn? Wait. I used to know a lot.
you
I
could
bought
check it out. I'm
back in
trying
the
to see.
day. I was
Let me
all
see. When
inside.
was Linda born?
I'll
Curious to see she a Virgo. Yes.
No, that's what it was. Yes. 0 degrees Aries, March 21st. Fifth
Mm.
house dating.
Mm.
Okay. Dating, romance, fun, sex. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God. And look, I think they may have had a past life connection.
Mm.
The South Node's here.
Mhm.
Okay. She loved him to pieces. She was like, don't worry, Bruce. They're going to accept you. They're going to love you. They're going to, she was always encouraging and supporting him. You know what I mean? And
She
so,
wrote his book, I think. Eric, also, I think she wrote a book on him. Because I think I had a book on him. Um, I'm not gonna lie. This is like when I was younger, and rented it from the library and never returned it, but that's another story.
It's okay. We're not going to judge it.
But
I just want
yeah,
to
his
check this.
wife, she like made the she wrote in the book. I think she either wrote the book or she, taking pictures and pages from what he wrote, and I think she put this
Mm.
book together.
Well, you know what one of his mantras was, and it's something that I try to live by. Bruce Lee famously said, you know, don't judge where the information has come from because you can learn from anyone. Meaning, like, even someone like Hitler or just anybody, right? The worst of the worst, Stalin. But there's something to learn, right? So he was saying, keep an open mind. Do not close your mind off from learning, and I think that's the Mercury 12th house. So he was indirectly direct. When you have Mercury in the 12th house, your communication, the messenger, is in the spiritual realm, in the ether. So of course that's going to give you ideas for the movies. And oh my gosh, he directed at least one of the films, if not two. I forgot.
Did he?
It may have been Enter the Dragon he directed. Yeah, but he
Mm.
directed a few films. So, you know what I mean? He was really such a trailblazer. And the Uranus in the sixth house for work, that speaks to that, right? You're going to think outside the box for your work and your daily routine, right? And in Taurus, you know what I mean? He was very like, if you remember his films, it wasn't like so much dialogue, you know what I mean? But
Not at all.
it wasn't like you didn't even care. It was just you just want to see the martial arts, you know. What was the one where he's fighting Chuck Norris? That was awesome too.
That was, I think that's Chinese Connection, or I
Is it?
think
Or
so.
is it the Enter the Way? No, the
The dragon.
Fist of Fury. It's
was it
either
this?
Fist of Fury or Chinese. It's either or Fist of Fury or Chinese Connection. It's one of those. I can't.
Okay. But I remember that was pretty popular too. And, even Chuck Norris, gave Bruce so much praise. I mean, how could you not? Bruce was the best. But see, Pluto Leo, this generation, remember their parents were part of the silent generation in the Depression, right? So a
Mhm.
lot of their parents were either Pluto Cancer, Pluto Gemini. And so the Pluto Leo generation, the boomers that are still here with us, they're so amazing. But if you notice, right, they don't want to let go of their grip, right? You can't take the fame away from Trump or Oprah. They won't release the grip, right? So it's very fascinating, the Pluto Leo energy in the ninth house. I mean, it makes me feel like that if he was still with us, he'd still be making movies. You know what I mean? He'd still be going. Like
Yeah,
Bruce
you would.
wasn't gonna stop. He really wasn't because you see the passion. Okay. Also with the Scorpio Moon, there was something about mom that was foreign to him, and maybe it was the German, Chinese mix. I don't know.
Makes sense.
But that's something that we would have to like really dig deep. But there was something either hidden or she didn't get him or he didn't get her, you know. And maybe she didn't. She was afraid of him sharing his kung fu. I don't know. I'm kind of.
Feared for her son, maybe?
Yes. Say it again.
I said fearing for her son.
I don't know. I mean, they had five kids, so it's
But
not
he's
like
like the one that
mom
came
and
to the
dad
States.
they were not separated. But peep this, something. Look at this one, Chiron one, right? So, and
Yeah.
this is around your father's teachings, right? Your wisdom, beliefs, philosophies. So that's kind of young. So it's not like something that he was conscious of, right? When you have it at 0 and 1, it's a very unconscious or subconscious Chiron one. And so this could have been maybe the other siblings or the older siblings were born in China, and then he's born here in America, and that was upsetting to the family or something. You just don't know. But
Hmm.
it's in foreign lands. But he also, I believe they were going back and forth because remember, he was doing films in China when he was young too. So it wasn't just like he was trying to become the film star in America, but he was doing stuff in China.
So it was the way of the dragon.
The Way of the Dragon. Thank you. I knew it was The Way. I was saying Way, but I couldn't remember. Okay, that's him and Chuck Norris, The Way of the Dragon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. So the seventh house, right? When you're Sag rising Gemini, he needed the communication in the relationship, right? The other half, he could speak Mandarin and English, communicating with the other half. This is why he could go and do the films in China and do the films here. I mean, think about how big, what's my guy's name that got big with Chris Tucker? Jackie
Ice Cube?
Chan. Jackie
Oh,
Chan,
Jack Chan.
right? Think how big he got for a while, right? He probably had like a decade run where he was huge. Bruce Lee, Jackie didn't touch Bruce Lee, right? And the charisma. Now, Jackie Chan is funny. Don't get me wrong. He's crazy funny.
There's a story from Jackie about Bruce Lee. He worked on the set of Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee from his own words. He said that
Yes,
he
I
worked
heard
on
something
this.
about that. What did he
He,
say? What did he say?
so he worked on the set like he was one of the extras, and that how Bruce, when he was performing the scene, that he kind of hit Jackie by accident, and afterwards he's like, "You okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty good." And that's pretty much it. And I think like he like basically touched that. Bruce elaborated on the hit afterwards in some form or fashion. I don't quite remember the story
Okay,
detail by
yeah, but
detail.
I think I remember what you're talking about. I remember Jackie saying something like that. That's pretty cool. And I'm sure he probably idolized them, you know what I mean? Like, who wouldn't? But that's pretty powerful. So we're also looking at growing up, right? When you're the Sag rising, you've got the Capricorn second house. Dad could have been pretty strict, right? The family values maybe a little old fashioned. So maybe that's the Chiron and the mom, like, well, are we going to raise the kids here in Hong Kong? No, we're going to go to LA, and no, that's where Bruce was born. Da 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 da. But there's something when you've got the Capricorn for the Sag risings that there is, a lot of discipline or structure in the home. Okay. Um, the local community, him growing up, right, going back and forth. Look, literally taking flight, right? He's going back and forth from Hollywood, Los Angeles, to Hong Kong, to California, to China. Aquarius third house. But that's different. That's weird, bizarre, right? Elementary school and this and that. He's probably already becoming like a little kung fu master, right? Third house, local community, martial arts, right? Those are things that can be very connected to Aquarius, because in third house we see our skills and self efforts. He was different and he wasn't like everybody else. And just like Israel said, he studied from Ali, he studied from different, martial artists, took the tradition and then put his Aquarius innovative twist on it, And I think a lot of that is this Mars Scorpio 12th house. Because Mars in the 12th, though, this is interesting in terms of, remember, this is isolation, foreign lands, but this is also the hospital, you know? This, I'm not, don't quote me on this, you guys, and, anybody else who watches this on the replay, but I'm seeing some patterns. A lot of people with Mars in the 12th house actually die in the hospital, I've seen. Just a couple of cases I've seen it, but I'm starting to see, when you start to recognize these patterns, you got to like catalog it in your brain, just like North Node and eighth house. I see a lot of very wealthy people. Okay. And usually, I don't want to say unusual deaths, but maybe sudden or different, you know. Remember the North Node's the dragon's head. It's consuming. So for Bruce, maybe it's not a surprise he had the affair. His North Node's in Libra, right? He's like, I want relationships. So maybe Betty really was the mistress, you know. Which is sad, but these things happen. Um, but the fact that she was the Aries, the wife, Linda, that South Node, I really feel like, for him to get married at 24 and then they're already having a kid, I do remember seeing in a film years ago about them, it was like quick. They fell in love like instantly, like Linda and Bruce. And that's that South Node there. You know what I mean? He probably intuitively knew like, yeah, I'm connected to her, like in a very deep way. you know. And she was down to like help him with the, the kung fu and this and that. Oh, I'm trying to remember this movie or documentary that I saw because you could like I could visually see her going with him, to the kung fu studios and watching him do his stuff in California. I feel like it was San Francisco though, not LA. I'm pretty sure he was in like the East Bay area for a bit too. Um, but the fourth house, right? We're dealing with the IC from where you come, right? Always opposite the MC, whether you see it in the chart, just like the descendant's always opposite the ascendant. These are the angular houses, the four pillars of our lives, right? So, you're having the Pisces there. So there's definitely some level of spirituality and creativity in the home. Maybe mom was, artistic too, but, obviously the opera singer dad, which actually, look, gets up to here with Neptune Virgo, right? The relationship with dad, Neptune, right? That's music, that's arts, that's creativity, and the father, okay, is 10th house. So now, wouldn't it be wild if Betty was a Virgo or a Libra? Ooh, can one of you guys find out the Mistress Betty in Hong Kong? That would be interesting, right? I don't know if that's even out on the internet, but these are the types of things that you're like, whoa, like it's like putting these mosaic and these puzzles together. But I think this is really powerful. Now, obviously, having Pluto on the ninth, that would transform your beliefs and your philosophies, right? Sometimes Pluto on the ninth can have you kind of, have some traumas, whether it's in a foreign land or higher education or from your father's teachings, but you may transform the beliefs. Like dad taught you this, oh, let's be good Christians. And he was like, no, I want to be Buddhist, or no, I'm going to be, whatever. So that's, does anybody happen to know about Bruce Lee? Did he have any, spiritual beliefs? That I did not see anywhere. I wonder about that. Um,
He is
I
a double Sagittarius. Huh?
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying.
I
Go ahead.
found her birthday.
He what?
I found her birthday.
Whose birthday? Betty?
Yeah,
Shut
February
up.
February 19th,
Ooh,
19,
Pisces.
Pisces.
Oh,
1947.
wow. And her last name was Betty what? Huang or something?
Betty Ting Pai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tang Pa. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
All kinds of wrong.
Pisces. Oh, yeah. She had something in that aspirin. Let me stop.
I know where.
That Pisces. She had something in that. This wasn't a regular aspirin. Shoot. Oh, Betty. Not nice, Betty. But yeah, no shade, Pisces, no shade, but
You
I'm
know,
just saying. But that's kind of fascinating. But this would make you think his mother, right, was very spiritual, right? That maybe there was some form of spirituality in the home. That would be kind of fascinating. But this also made me think about Shannon, right? Remember the first house, I'm sorry, the fifth house is children, but it is specifically the first child. And then the seventh house is where we would see the first. This would be Brandon. So this makes sense, right? South Node. This, it's kind of like a double or triple entendre. Married the Aries. They were dating. Past life, right? Then the first child, Brandon, even though he's an Aquarius, artist, Aries, the athlete, martial artist, right? The fighter. So followed in dad's footsteps. You know what I mean? So you've got that too. And then Shannon would be here. Now she's 56 and still going to Gemini, second kid. I don't know what she's doing now, but her and mom are still alive. That's what's so fascinating, right? That he wasn't so old that like, he could still be here. You
yeah,
know,
for sure.
he could still be here, and that's and so could Brandon, right? I mean, they would have been 56. He would have been turning 60. So,
Betty is 78. She's still alive.
oh, Betty's still alive too. Oh, so she was a little younger than Bruce. 78. He had her by like 8 years or something. Okay, all right, Bruce. Hmm. I tell you, we gotta watch out. So, but that's another thing too, right? I'm not gonna say Sagittarius risings are going to cheat because but the Gemini energy in the seventh house, right? It's the twins. The twins could be, two wives. It could be two women. It could be, you know what I mean? But more importantly, being a little bit more serious, although it could be that literally, right? But more seriously, it's about the need for communication, right? He needed communication in a relationship. And I remember seeing that with him and Linda. That's what they had. They had that genuine communication and friendship, right? Now you've got to explore the eighth house because Cancer, Sun, Moon, risings would be attracted to Bruce. Now he got married pretty early at 24, so you don't know if there was other women swimming around before then. I mean, I'm sure there were, but the vertex is like a second descendant, dog star Sirius. But the Cancer eighth house, he was there was this deep inner knowing because Cancer. Remember with Cancer, right? Aquarius is I know. Cancer is I feel, right? They feel so deeply their emotions, but because they feel, when they trust their intuition and their emotions, therefore they know. And so always remember the Aquarius moon. So Aquarius, masculine fixed air sign, very emotionally detached. They don't like the one-on-one so much. They like more of the group, Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising, right? They like the friends, the group. So you'll find, and this is more of a Vedic principle, but I've seen that it's true and it works, that the Aquarius moon sometimes behaves like a Cancer moon. It'll be very sensitive. Okay.
And
So
the
go ahead.
and the eighth house ruler is in the 12th house. And
Exactly.
he died in the hospital, right?
Yes, he did. There you go. Ding dong. Yeah. And what's the eighth house? Sudden events and emergencies, dying in the hospital, and the Mars. So there's like another double entendre showing
Right.
that. Now, the Venus, you could be like, oh, it's because of a female,
Yeah.
right?
Mm,
Venus,
Romances.
Mars, right? It's because of the sex, the cheating,
It's like hidden
mm,
romances, right?
right? The hidden affair. But, one thing about the Mercury, when you have the Mercury in the 12th, not only your messages and downloads his dreams, he probably dreamt about some of these movies, right? But you're so when you hear that somebody's indirectly direct, what happens a lot with Mercury in the 12th, not only do they get misunderstood with how they communicate, they can be people of few words, but they will say the message. You may, as the friend or spouse or family member, may not listen, but it will come to fruition, right? And then they could say, "I told you so." But it's like they're communicating something that will happen in the future, and others are not always privy to or aware of it.
Well, the movie suggested
Which
that
movie?
the dragon
Oh yeah.
about him. Yeah, it was. He kind of saw his death. Like he kept having these dreams about the future.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Yes. 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 I remember that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the Enter the Dragon one? Was
No,
that
that
or the Way of the
was
Dragon?
about his life. That was about his life.
some of that,
It was called Dragon. It was about Bruce Lee story.
some of that movie,
I love that
some
movie.
yeah, that movie is great, but some of that movie
Uh-huh.
is fiction and some of it is nonfiction. You got to do your own
Okay.
research.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
So,
like metaphorical. I looked at it,
but it was great though. Well put
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
I
I'm
loved it.
trying. See, now it's so honestly, God, I've seen so many movies, but it's been so long. Now I'm like, oh man, I gotta have like a Bruce Lee week of
I
movies.
know.
Say
You
it
enjoy
again.
yourself.
What'd you say? Was that you, Murray, or somebody said something? So Ceres. Remember, Ceres is how you're nurtured and cared for, right? Your food, your fashion, but your secret sorrows. So sometimes this is interesting. I don't know. This makes me think about something with a sibling, conjunct Mercury. I wonder if his siblings are still alive. That's the one thing I didn't see that either. I mean, I would assume some of them may still be, I know his brother was the one kind of Robert Lee was the one that was trying to find answers about his brother's passing, and cared deeply about his brother. He was the one trying to do the research and question, what happened with Betty and Raymond and stuff like that. But obviously, he did well in Hong Kong and China, the part of fortune, the Mercury, the Moon, the Mars, the Venus. And I wonder if for Bruce, there was this like between two worlds, right? Like part of him loved America, but then didn't, right? I think there was some frustration about his acceptance. Unfortunately, I think he became a bigger star here after he died, which happens to so many artists, right?
I'm saying that the Enter the Dragon is what really put him on the map. So the story supposedly goes that he come to America, whatever the case is, and working odd jobs, and then the school, and then I think he dabbled in Hollywood. That's when he was Kato in the Green Hornet show, remember?
Green Hornet, yep.
So
Yeah.
then Q fast forward, he had the idea for the Kung Fu series. Supposedly that's what they depicted in the Dragon story of him, that he was him and someone else. But I know that was somewhat of his idea, the story,
Yeah.
the plot for the series Kung Fu with
Yes.
David Carradine,
Yes,
remember?
David. Yes, yes. Kung
So
Fu,
so
yes.
supposedly when you watch the movie, Eric, on him, Q, he had the idea and he's talking to a director about it. And then Q to the next scene where they're showing
Oh,
the commercial or coming attraction to Kung Fu, and they show David Carradine pretty much taking his slot. So he was
Yeah.
disappointed on the state side, and that's what brought him to. Well, I think somebody, basically Hong Kong wanted him for a few films, and I guess
Right.
he
So
went back
that
to
okay,
Hong
now
Kong.
I'm starting to remember. Yes. So that's why I was saying, and it's right here, right? The chart was catching me up to my memory. And between it shows you, right? He's between two realms and two worlds, right? So he was going back and forth. It's exactly, yes. I remember now the David Carradine. Oh my gosh, that's right.
Let me tell you something crazy.
Uh-huh.
Is a week ago, I was flipping through the stations, and I don't even watch Kung Fu Master, right? And it was on, and it was the movie. It was like a TV movie version of the show. And guess who was on that episode? Brandon Lee.
Oh,
So
for
Brandon
real?
Lee was actually in the TV movie version of the Kung Fu Master. He was playing some type of Kung Fu Master in that TV movie, and but he had to be triggered. So he was kind of like a Manchurian candidate in the movie. You'd have to go back and find it, but
Wow. How
I
old is
think
he
that
in
is
this
so
movie, though?
yeah, all right, synchronistic, right? That you're doing this coffee talk on Bruce Lee, and I just saw Brandon Lee on Kung Fu
Do you
Master
remember how
about a
old
week
he
ago.
was in this film?
Yeah, because the episode was before The Crow, so it was
Yeah.
like 91 or 90 or something like that.
I think I remember
Wow.
seeing. I think I remember what she's talking about,
Yeah.
like vaguely. Like,
Yeah, it was a TV movie.
Wow. Let me tell you something. They, I think they were both taken out, and I may have to do Brandon's chart sometime soon
yeah,
because,
you got to do Brandon
yeah,
one time.
because,
Like
because
he's
that kid, like The Crow, like that movie was dope, and I got to see it again. But like
no.
he was gonna be big.
Yeah, Brandon had a couple. Listen, if you just Google his fight scenes, okay,
Yes.
and you see you
See his
see
father. Yeah, you
his
see it.
cunning. Yeah, yeah, he has his body movement is similar to his father, but he went different routes. Like I think he loved kickboxing,
Yeah.
supposedly, like Muay
Yeah.
Thai kickboxing. And if
Yeah.
you notice a lot of his moves, there are a lot of knee strikes and elbow strikes. You'll see. Just Rapid Fire. Rapid Fire is a great movie. Google, I
Oh
mean YouTube Rapid
yeah.
Fire. Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, I
Rapid
do. Oh
Fire.
my gosh.
That's a good one.
Ugh. It's like you got. It's like it's almost like a someone's massaging a part of my brain that hadn't been touched in a while, and it's like,
Copy.
oh man,
Copy.
how I remember that. Like that's crazy. Yeah. So and he was definitely different. Remember, Brandon was the Aquarius, so he was a bit of a rebel, and I remember the hype about the Crow. Remember, that was huge. That was gonna be like crazy, and then the way it went down, I was like,
Yeah, it's kind of eerie.
yeah, and they
Eerie.
and they had to finish. he had done most of the film. They just finished like a little bit without him. I can't remember
Yeah,
how much,
yep.
but I remember that. So
I
the
know the
one,
scene he died in too, and the person that killed him, one of the actors on the set, they elaborate. Well, this is on. You can find all this on the internet.
yeah. They said in the rubber bullets there was like a fragment of a real bullet, right? Or
There was
something.
a scene, yeah. He got killed by a real bullet. There was a scene,
Yeah, no,
and
I
it's a
know that.
hilarious scene. It's the thing is, this scene stands out, and a part of this scene is hilarious because he's coming through the window and he's going after one of the guys that killed him, and basically, the guy's high as hell. Excuse my language, and
Yeah.
he's like, what are you doing here? Da, da, da. And the guy pulls out a gun. The guy's laying on his bed, and he pulls out a gun, pointing towards Brandon, and he's like, I'm gonna shoot. I'm gonna take your head off. And he's like, shoot then. So then he shoots him. Boom. He turns around. And he's like, ah. And he's like, yeah. And he turns around, and he's still alive. And the guy's like, he's losing his mind. That scene, supposedly, that's where he got shot by that actor.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Now look at these two squares. Neptune is squaring the galactic center and Angel. And then you've got the Sun squaring Juno. And so let's start with Sun square Juno. He was kind of married to Linda and kind of married to his career. And I think there was probably, if you would really dig deep in their relationship, there were probably some sticking points about that once they had the kids. Bruce, why do you have to go back to Hong Kong? I got to do this movie. No, you don't. Yeah, I do. I gotta keep pressing. You know what I mean?
He
Um,
did leave his family. He did leave his family, and he went, and then I think he brought him to Hong Kong. But I remember he left his family.
no, yeah, he was back and forth. That's what I'm saying. And so
Mhm.
that's that right there. Sun square Juno, right? His vitality, purpose, career, right, is squaring his married life, right? The Juno. So in the 10th house of the career. So it's like, this is where you're like, this is like, oh, he's married to his legacy and public image and to the film. You see, that's kind of there. And then the Sun, and then the Neptune kind of squaring the Angel Galactic Center. It was almost like he was, because of how he died, he was there, not like Brandon actually on a film set, but he died taking part of doing the dubbing for Enter the Dragon, I believe, for Hong Kong, right? And so it was the May 10th that he was, recording in the studio, I think in Hong Kong, the dubbing, and he had like a severe headache, right? And then complained about it in the Senate, but then she was giving him these pain pills or whatever, and then on July 20th at her place, she gave it to him again or whatever, and that was it. And so that makes me think of the Neptune, squaring the Angel Galactic Center, but almost like
Yeah.
he was spiritually destined to be the film star, do the movies, but it was also the same thing that was, going to be like, I guess the downfall. I don't know. It's kind of fascinating. Like, this Uranus Saturn, there's something, it's not really a conjunction. You got the Saturn Lilith, right? Almost like there's karma to be paid for cheating. And this is the thing with Saturn. Always remember this in your charts or any chart you're looking at. 6 houses away, right? So if we have it in the 6th house, right, that's going to be the 11th house, because the 7th house would be the opposition, the 12th. So there's karmic duty to pay to the Libra North Node, to the big events, to the hopes, dreams, and wishes. And so it's almost like having this success and this thirst, even for maybe this mistress or this and that or whatever, the Uranus, you paid the price because you were there to do the movie. You weren't there to sleep with Betty. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-mm.
So I don't know. That's kind of interesting, But Saturn in Taurus, right? Karmically, he's being asked to be disciplined about your self-worth, your values, your finances. By the way, he was worth 10 million when he died. And they said that he would still be worth 10 million today. So I don't know if that's like, sales of movies and, things and, his estate, I guess, now. So, I wonder, sort of like a Michael Jackson and this and that. He didn't have music, but, for directing and, I don't know, residuals and just his whatever else, he still, probably is still making money.
Products alone
Yeah.
just
No, I
kept
just don't
going.
know
Just
what they sell of
t-shirts.
his. Like, I'm not privy to, you know what I mean? But that's what they
Copy.
said at the time in 73, he was worth 10 million, but his estate, I think it was in 2020, I don't know if they said 25, I think they said 23 or 24 was valued at 10 million. So that means that there's still money coming in, right? And then I think like that's what's interesting, even when I said the game of death at 38, after he died, right? The chart is still active, right? Famously, you could see Lisa Marie Presley and Elvis Presley, right? There was something activated in his chart that kicked in an inheritance, right, for her when she turned 25, second house annual perfection, and she had the ruler of the second in the eighth. So I think it was Taurus Scorpio. And so she received an inheritance from Elvis at age 25, 25 years old, annual perfection. So like you could see this stuff play out, things in the chart, right? 38. So like, let's say right now, right, he would be 40, right? He'd be 85. So, this is 72, 84. So he'd be in his second house perfection here, right? So it'd be interesting to see in 2 years if something comes out, Pisces, which is connected to film, opposing the 10th house of career and Neptune, if there's going to be some sort of release of something about Bruce Lee. Because, I could see them updating and trying to do really good, like biopic now, engulfing maybe the whole family, bringing in Bruce and Brandon stories. It could be dope, you know what I mean? So that's something to pay attention to, and it would show the activation in this chart. Like if I'm, potentially right, it could happen in 2 years, something, So, those are always interesting things to look for. Any other aspects or anything you guys question or see? I'm looking at this sun. I guess there's stuff with this 12th house and the 6th, because you're seeing all those planets opposing. Well, there you go. Look, Venus and Mars are opposing the Jupiter and Lilith. So he could have been cheating with multiple women in Hong Kong, foreign land, right? Venus, Mars opposing the Lilith. Right, I'm going back to Hong Kong to work, but I'm working and I'm working, right? So, I mean that's literal. Look at that, Venus, Mars, okay, and yeah.
So the movie Dragon,
Uh-huh.
his story came out in 1993.
Which dragon?
Movie Dragon. Bruce Lee's story. She's talking about the dragon.
Oh, yes, that's the one I saw.
So where would it be on the chart?
Okay, 93. Do you have a date on that one?
Oh, whole date. Let me see. Mhm.
Because that's 53 years old, right? 48, 49,
Released May
50,
7th, 1993.
51, 52. So it would be fifth house because it wouldn't have been 53 years old. It would have been 52 because it came out before his birthday, Sagittarius season. So that's interesting. Fifth house. What's that, right? Your creative self-expression. South node, the past, digging up the past. Is that right? 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. No, 53 to 6. Oh, no, yeah. Oh, no. Wait a minute. Why am I bugging? 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. Okay, yeah. So fifth house. Okay, yeah. So Aries, right? Another martial art movie, but about his career. South Node, about his whole life story past. Look at that. That's crazy, right? South Node Aries. They released that movie. Oh, that's what that was that I saw. Yeah, I think I may have that on DVD. What was that called again? The Dragon?
Yeah, the
And
Bruce Lee story.
Bruce Lee
Yeah.
story, Dragon.
That's what I saw. Okay. God, I couldn't even remember that I saw that, but I'm thinking like I saw this somewhere. It was that movie, yeah.
He was born in the year of the dragon. So that's
Oh my
Right.
God.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Oh
dragon.
Oh, yeah.
wow.
So was my mother.
Oh.
Mm.
Wow. I guess that's my opposite because I'm a dog. Yeah, that's crazy.
Layers.
So look at that. I mean, but this just shows you, and this is what I love about astrology, you guys. This is showing you exactly that, right? That the annual perfection still can be activated when you're gone
Yeah,
because your soul is eternal.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's so powerful. I
Yeah.
mean, literally, Aries South Node, fifth house, which is past life karmas, which is ancient history, which is your creative self-expression, which is speculative gains.
Mm-hmm.
I bet, Linda got some dough for that, right? So that's really powerful. Oh man, Bruce, wow. So before we go, any last questions on the legendary martial artist and actor? I mean, he was just, God, yeah.
His
Now you
legacy
guys are
lives
making me go
on.
back. Huh?
I said his legacy lives on.
It does. It does. And I've always wanted to look at his chart. This isn't just like there wasn't anything that just sparked it. I mean, kind of Sagittarius season, and just in that sense, but it was more because I thought about this a couple of years ago, but it just didn't get to it. And, everything happens in divine timing. But,
So for
just remember
Aquarius,
though, when you have the sun in your ascendant, um, you, I've noticed this with the sun and the moon. Your relationship with mom or dad, whether it's the sun or the moon, can like come and go, ebbs and flows. Because remember that we got to remember the sun is still mild malefic. The first house is your only house of self. So what happens is it can make you a little selfish and self-centered the first 20 some odd years. Now, obviously, if you got married at 24 and had a kid, that had to fly out the window. Right? He couldn't be so, I mean, she probably wouldn't have married him if he was so selfish and self-centered. So, but, at least the first 18 to 20 years, I had a college roommate who had this placement, and I just remember, like, boy, he was very self-centered when, the first like 18, 19, 20 years, and then, totally, changed. But that's what happens when the sun is on the ascendant. And then in a fiery sign too. But also this Pisces, fourth house, three rising signs that usually the fourth house is an indicator they're going to leave or travel a lot or their hometown. Virgo rising, Sag, fourth house, Scorpio rising, Aquarius, fourth house, and Sag rising, Pisces, right? Those are going to have you traveling sometimes and moving, okay? So just a little something to keep in your mental Rolodex about the chizzy.
so for Aquarius season, can we do Brandon Lee?
You know what? I already have the two coffee talks because I gotta teach these
Oh,
transits. But I think maybe I'll do him the coffee talk in March for one of them. Yeah, I think I'll do Brandon Lee because since we just did this, I'll definitely come back with that for one of them in March because we've got April, I'll be doing the Uranus and the Gemini. So March, I definitely can do it because I think that'll be great. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah,
Sounds good.
because it'll still be kind of fresh in our heads. And when I email this to you guys, I'm going to send you the chart with the video. But yeah, we'll definitely do Brandon in March because February 7th, Saturday, I'm doing Saturn in Aries. That starts on the 13th. So I want to get that to you guys beforehand. And then the February 20th conjunction, Saturn Neptune conjunction. This is huge. That happened in 89, not in Aries, but it happened in 89. And that's when the Great Wall of China came down. So Saturn, Neptune, and Aries is definitely kind of like a big reset, and it's going to be a huge shift. This is a big, big year, you guys, and it's going to start to. I mean, it's already going by fast, but it's going to speed up even faster. And then once April 25th comes, it's going to be a blur.
yeah, that was my first Saturn return.
Really?
It was bad.
Oh man. Yeah,
Terrible.
those Saturn return, we really we want to prepare for them because whether it's the first or the second, they can come like a lot of
But
bricks.
but you know my problem with the Saturn return. Like back then, I was with the Placidus, so Saturn was in with Placidus was in my workhouse. It was in the sixth house, but it didn't make sense with what I was going through because I was
Um,
studying astrology then.
yeah, I
So
remember you told me, yeah.
yeah,
But it's really supposed to be what in your seventh?
seventh house, and that's where the problems were.
Yeah.
So it was confusing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that's the good thing about the whole sign of, it really,
You got me up to speed with that, so
yeah, yeah. Like I'm
I'm
so
grateful for
glad.
that.
Yeah.
Okay,
It
that
brings
makes
that,
sense.
it
I was
brings,
like, okay, this makes sense.
it brings that clarity. So, but just for you guys to remember too, uh, Bruce was, Bruce was, yeah, I believe the affair with Betty because this tells you when anybody has got Mercury, the Moon, Mars, and Venus in the 12th house, that's the bedroom. That's bed pleasures. That's sex. He was very sexual. Okay.
He's also a heavy philosopher, heavy on the
Oh,
philosophy.
big time philosopher. Yeah. That's why he said that whole thing about, you learn from anybody. Doesn't
He's
matter
got
if you agree with them.
one of
Yeah.
my favorite quotes from him.
Uh-huh.
I wrote it down. I can't remember word for word, but it's something about pointing to the moon and like it's like a finger pointing to the moon. Don't focus on the finger, or you miss all of its glory. Something to that nature.
Mm. No, he had a ton of sayings. Yeah. But that's Moon, Mercury, freaking, okay, Venus, 12th house? That's like a romance novelist or sci-fi fantasy writer. When you have Venus in the 12th house, you could be a dynamic writer too. That
They're right.
creativity, the arts, culture, entertainment. Like that's why he wrote and did the movie. And then you said David Carradine snatched it from him. But Bruce was definitely just filled with spiritual, energetic charisma and passion. I
Yeah,
guess that's the
definitely.
way to say it in a nutshell. Because you look at all this, man, like that's that's pretty dynamic, very dynamic.
Trendsetter beyond his time.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. And the Chiron too, right, is squaring the Venus, right? Look at that, the Venus and the Mars. So, see, that makes me think too. There was something upsetting, and I don't know if it was maybe a separation as a little baby that he wasn't aware of from mom or from dad, or going back from LA to Hong Kong. But it would be, one, it goes right into the subconscious, so you're not aware. But that's when you got the Chiron wound 012, you're not going to remember it. You have to ask your parents for the wound, but it can be very, very deep. Because at the end of the day, if it's in the ninth house, it's really speaking to your beliefs and your philosophies. And then you also see that square with the Jupiter, to the Chiron. So, Bruce Lee, we salute you. Thank you, sir. That was a fascinating chart, and we will do Brandon in March. And I hope to see your wonderful faces on February 7th, Saturn Aries, and then Friday the 13th. And this will be, a nice little treat, but it's going to be, 2 full coffee talks in February. So that'll be 7 and 9. And that's going to be obviously, for the premium tribe members, that one's just a little extra, bonus freebie because we're not going to do a mini coffee talk in February. We got two big things to talk about. So for both of those, I'll be looking at it for all 12 rising signs as well. Okay, you guys? All right, you guys. Have a good one.
You too,
Thank
brother.
you.
All right, bye.